All right, let's attempt this.
This is gonna go bad. Welcome back to Westerospective, where we bring you Game of Thrones, the old seasons, and the new. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
And the audience has been forewarned. Ron and I have not watched this episode since like Wednesday. When did you watch it? When did you end up watching it?
It was like Friday, maybe, so it's a little bit more recent than you did, but the twins running around and the lack of sleep due to twins and everything else, I might as well have just watched it Wednesday.
That's like 17 years in Ron years, basically.
Yeah, I have no concept of time anymore or memory.
Yeah. So bear with us. This is probably going to be a short conversation. No, actually, we're going to go into some rant as we talk about like some social commentary thesis. And then this is going to be like a 3.5 hour epic of a podcast. And eventually the cure for cancer is going to be invented, and it's just going to be a grand old time. So let's just jump right in, Ron. This is season 3. There's some cool shit on the way that we hopefully will remember when we get to watch it. Episode's title, Valar Dohaeris, which geek cred time, Ron, what does that mean?
No clue.
No clue. Okay. Valar Morghulis is all men must die. Valar Dohaeris is all men must serve.
Okay.
You have failed.
I knew the first one. I didn't know this one.
You have failed the city. All right. Episode opens up basically with Sam, just like the audience, wondering how he's still alive.
Right.
Because he's still like wandering through the middle of fucking nowhere by himself. And he ends up getting attacked by the White Walker, right? And then And then Commander Goddamn Mormont, fucking love him, comes in and saves the day. And I love how they have the conversation, him with Sam, where it literally comes down to he's almost basically saying, "You had one fucking job."
He literally says you had one job.
Literally, you had one job.
Yeah.
Poor Sam.
Yeah, poor Sam.
Yeah. Even when he wins, he loses. Was there anything else of importance that really happened at the beginning?
Other than just Mormont saying that basically due to Sam, they now have to go back to the wall to warn everyone.
Fucking Sam.
Fucking Sam.
All right. They segue from there to Snow and Ygritte as they're walking through the wildling encampment.
Yes.
And this is a really important sequence, actually, because this is is this the first time you see one of the giants?
Yes.
Because I remember watching this season for the first time, and then they show the giant. And you're just like, God damn it, Game of Thrones ain't fucking around with their giants, because Jesus Christ.
Who knew the giants were big?
Like, because like a lot of fantasy things kind of like, they either go like either one direction or the opposite, where they're either just basically like a super large human.
Yeah.
Or they go the route of like Lord of the Rings, where they're like a creature almost.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit like the trolls and stuff like in Lord of the Rings. But with the giant on here, he's just, like it makes them more kind of feasible for their what they would later do with them during the battles and stuff, I think.
Right. Yeah. No, I like their giants here pretty good because, like you said, some fantasy stuff, they're either Godzilla sized or they're just like 7 feet tall.
Yeah. They feel more like part of the world, I think, when they're kind of toned down a little bit for Game of Thrones.
But still kind of terrifying.
Yeah. And every time I see one of the giants, I just immediately want to just go like back to back, battle the bastards, and hard home, get some more 1-1 action.
Yes.
They do a lot of cool shit with the giants. They proceed through the camp. And this is the first time we are introduced to Tormund, who I fucking love, and Mance Rayder as well. And I really, really like the scene where Snow kneels and they all just immediately make fun of him.
Yeah.
Because
go ahead.
Go ahead.
You go. I was gonna talk about Mance.
I like how they kind of framed the scene where Snow thinks he's talking to Mance when he's talking to Tormund, and then Mance is just having a grand old time watching him make an ass of himself from the other room.
And honestly, if it's your first time watching, you're there with John.
Yeah.
You think it's Mance too. They kind of frame the whole thing that way.
And Tormund's an intense motherfucker before he becomes, all gaga over Brienne later on and lovable. Like,
I don't think they had decided that they were going to do that yet at this point, because he's a lot more intimidating now. Later, I don't want to say he's comic relief, but he's the source of a lot of comedy.
Yeah.
In the thing, just through the way he looks at people and the things he says.
But part of it too, in TV shows, even when they're based off of an adaptation, a lot of it comes down to how much they end up liking the actor or actress.
Right.
That can dictate like a lot. Like,
I got a feeling that the actor that plays Tormund is just a crazy son of a bitch, because some of his TV commercials and stuff, and the fact that he can't shave the beard due to contractual obligations with Game of Thrones. So he's like in that one commercial in the blue suit, like he's a weatherman, and he's got the fucking beard and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the way he acts, and like his IMDb photo alone, I think tells you everything you need to know about the guy.
I really want to have a beer with Tormund. Really bad. So what were you going to talk about regarding Mance?
I think it says a lot that he just kind of stood back in the shadows and watched all that go on with Tormund and Jon. And then I was going to point out how much I love the fact that he was talking about how that would make Jon Snow a traitor. And he's like, if I'm a traitor, then so are you.
That is the first note. The actor playing Mance was a brilliant choice, as I love that guy and everything. His name is Kieran Hines.
I've seen him and stuff, but I can never remember what. He's one of those faces.
Did you ever see the second Ghost Rider movie?
Yeah.
He plays the devil. I always really, really liked his personification of the devil in that movie too. But yeah, he's basically fucking great and everything. But yeah, my main note was, this is one of the first times you see Snow put some nutsack on display.
Yes.
Because this conversation could easily end up with him dying at any turn at a moment's notice. And it almost kind of does at a couple of instances, but he finds a way to kind of, turn the conversation back to kind of
He's discovering his inner Snow.
Yeah, he's starting to, I think, realize, especially with the fuck up with the kneeling, like who he's dealing with. And I think this is actually probably one of the most important scenes for his character development, because this was one of the first times that I felt like I was watching Snow from the later seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Snow basically all in one scene grows up a few years right here.
Because he has to.
He has to.
Or
he's been this naive little punk all the way up till now, and all of a sudden shit got real.
And he's all alone in the world.
Yes.
Surrounded by 1,000 people who want to murder him. I do
because of his clothes.
I was about to say, I do like the running joke about how, like, we really need to get you a new coat because you've gone a few stairs. Let's see. The next scene they transition to is with Bronn.
I love this scene.
Yeah, I'm a little mixed up. What is the first time that they show Bronn doing?
He's in bed with the prostitute.
Well, and then Pod walks in.
And Pod walks in.
Okay.
Right as he's about to like remove the last little piece of clothing she has, and he's just like, Pod,
back away, or I will kill you.
He's like, back away, and then back away some more, and back away all the way out of the establishment. And then Pod's like, Sir Tyrion sent me, and he's like, Pod, I will murder you. And he's like, he says it's life or death. And he's like, oh.
I love Bronn so much.
Oh, Bronn.
Has there ever been a scene in which Jerome Flynn didn't fucking nail?
He owns every scene he's
every
in.
mannerism, every line, every scene. That dude just takes over every scene.
I need to look up more stuff that he's in. I want to see him not be Bronn.
I really, because of how much I love Jack the Ripper 2, I want to watch that Ripper Street show that he's.
Is he on that?
He's one of the main characters in the Jack the Ripper show.
Because
that
I almost started that back when I had a shit ton of shows like you to watch, and then I was like, I don't need another show, and I didn't.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching that one at some point because Jack the Ripper stuff is cool and interesting to me. Plus, fucking Jerome Flynn.
It wasn't cool in the day, Jeff.
Yeah, true.
Especially if you were a woman.
So once they cut away from the Bronn and Pod scene, they actually show Tyrion where he's kind of, locking himself up. He's rightfully so. He's fucking terrified of everyone around him.
This scene is just kind of sad. I mean, this is his own sister.
Yeah. And it's fucked up too, when he's looking at her through the little port glass thing in the door. And she just straight up tells him, she's just like, if I wanted you dead, do you think I'd let a little slab of wood stop me? You're just like,
yeah.
Oh, Tyrion, you are in a fucked up situation right now. So
when she gets in the room, he's always opposite her. When she moves to like this side, he moves around.
I like the way that he immediately just goes and gets his axe too. Once she starts, I think the first time he hears her talking, he grabs his axe.
Yeah, he grabs the axe, and then as soon as she walks in, he slams the door shut and locks it. And then he keeps the axe for a little bit into their conversation before he goes and gets wine. I think he puts it down for the wine, and then he just stays opposite her the entire time they're in the room. And I'm like, think about that for a moment. This is the man's own sister, and he's having to like fear for his life that he's in the same room with her.
After he has helped save the city.
After he has saved the city, her son.
Yeah.
Like everything.
I like the little detail they include too. When she first walks in, she looks at his disfigurement as far as like a scar. And then she actually says, like, the rumor was you had lost your nose and that you were horribly disfigured. I actually like that the rumor that spreads in the show is actually what happened in the book to him. I thought that was an interesting little twist on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, their conversation is, he flat out kind of tells her, I know that you tried to kill me. And then her reply is, what are you going to do about it? He has no power
Come
left.
at me, bruh.
His only two friends in the city are Bronn and Pod, and
he pays one of them.
Yeah, which they establish specifically later.
I'm a sellsword. I sell my sword. I don't lend it to friends.
That scene also has one of the best quotes of the show, where you're not half as clever as you think that you are. That still makes me more clever than you.
Yes, I love that.
Great Tyrion line. And one of my favorite scenes of the episode is when Bronn walks up and he's about to take on the two guard guys.
That's a fight I wanted to see.
And my favorite line he says is I think he intentionally fucks up Maren Trant's name, and then he talks to the other guy. He's just like, "Sir, who's it of who cares?"
Yes.
But yeah, they are like he is.
This episode alone says everything you need to know about Bronn.
Absolutely. But yeah, he walks up and he has actually pulled his dagger a little bit outside of its sheath, and they're about to fucking fight in that hallway when Cersei walking out breaks it up. He
actually even pointed out that the guy likes to beat up little girls. Did you remember that?
Yeah. A little bit of a foreshadowing for what would end up becoming with the Arya stuff.
Yeah.
Which, goes right over your head unless you're probably a book reader when they have more time to establish their backgrounds and everything.
Probably. The first time they ever said that, I'm just kind of like, oh, you asshole. And then I forget that line by the time we get to that Arya scene.
Yeah.
But knowing what's coming.
Revisiting it makes it.
When he says that, I'm like, oh my gosh, foreshadowing.
Yeah, and then I think, doesn't he depart with Bronn? Or is that a later scene when he has the sellsword joke?
Yeah, Cersei leaves and the Gold Cloaks leave. And then I think they have a line or two of dialogue in his room, then it cuts to them walking outside.
Through like the harbor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tyrion, Bronn, and Pod. And Bronn's wanting to discuss his pay with Tyrion because he's a knight now. Knights get double. You don't know what I'm paying you now, which means you can afford it.
Now here's the question, because sometimes I get some of the overarching plot lines mixed up from season to season. What is Tyrion's arc for season 3? Or does he just kind of take a back seat as they firmly establish more Snow and Khaleesi stuff? Because this season is always in my brain. You obviously remember the Red Wedding at the end, but I think of Khaleesi stuff with Snow story mixed in, to the point where I can't even really remember what happened.
Everything with Bronn in this is set up. Everything with Tyrion in this is set up for what's to come, because here in a little bit later we're gonna talk about how he's getting screwed over by his father, and all these terrible things keep happening to him, and it just kind of sets up his wanting to leave, and him wanting to go and join Khaleesi.
And it's especially set up so his story doesn't really continue again until they frame him for Joffrey's murder, isn't it? Isn't that season 4?
Yeah, this is he's got to get humiliated by being Joffrey's cupbearer. He's got to get all these other horrible things to happen to him before he finally decides to say "fuck you, everyone." And then the stuff with him and Tywin go down, and he leaves with Varys.
It makes sense too that the second season is Tyrion's season.
Yeah,
I would say, and then this season ends up really being, I would say, Khaleesi's season, because of what ends up happening with all of her storylines.
He even gets tried, and they're going to try to put him to death and stuff at one point, and that's when all of this that happens is this is just nothing but setup for him wanting to leave King's Landing and needing to leave King's Landing.
Yeah.
From here on, it's just going to be horrible shit happening to Tyrion.
Yeah.
At every turn.
And even when he gets his revenge, he can't enjoy it, unfortunately.
Yep.
Because of the implications and everything behind it.
Remember, even Varys is like, "What have you done?" with the bell ringing in the background.
Yep. God, it's such a good finale. That
I know.
So good. The next scene they go to is where they show Davos has survived the Blackwater.
Luckiest
fallout.
bastard in that whole fleet.
The what?
The luckiest bastard in that whole fleet.
It's kind of interesting too. Is when they show him and he is super fucked up, and he somehow survived the explosion. He somehow survived not drowning, and he is kind of stuck up on the rock. And when you think about it, they actually indirectly end up adding a lot of reasonings behind the Lord of Light actually maybe being a thing. Because when you think about it, everything that gets set into motion culminates in Melisandre and Davos being at the wall in that later season where they can save Jon Snow.
Yeah.
So it's because it's what are the odds that Davos would be not only the one guy who survives, but doesn't drown, he's up on the rock, and then he gets saved by the ship with his friend. It's a lot of, and it's one of those things where it's because they're so smart about establishing their religions and everything, you could consider those plot conveniences, but not really with Game of Thrones, because there's always a deeper layer to it.
Everything has a purpose.
Everything has a purpose, and I think it's interesting, but I think, at least the way I interpret it is that Melisandre's whole purpose for the whole show and the books is just to save Snow at that later moment, because he ends up being so important. I
think when that happens later, she talks about how she realizes then that everything was Stannis and everything was to get her there. I think she actually has dialogue about that, if I recall.
Yeah.
Here though was a reference that kind of surprised me. It wasn't really meant to be anything, I don't think, but I took it as a little Easter egg when his pirate friend,
Salvador San.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
I love that guy too. He said something to the effect of, "Unless you can come back to life, blah, 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 blah." And my brain immediately went to, yeah, basically. But I like their entire conversation though that they have. Especially when he talks about how Davos was a good father, and if I was a good father, my son would still be alive, and then he just kind of moves the conversation on. But when he's what does it say? You drank with me on my wedding day, and you drank with me on 4 of my wedding days. But I still don't ask favors of each other.
Yeah, he's such a cool character.
Yeah, but then how right is he, though, when he tells him that if you go back and you fail to kill her, you're dead. And if you kill her, you're dead. Like,
yep.
Everything he said, basically, in that whole conversation, like he was right about everything.
And you gotta love Davos too, like full man on a mission mode. Like, I do not care. She's gonna die because she got my kid killed. That's the way he's looking at it, right? And he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Because a big reason his son was in that moment is because he was buying their Kool-Aid for all the Lord of Light shit.
Yeah.
And then once they have them all together, how late? I'm just gonna jump ahead just a little bit real quick, but we'll talk about it more later. But when she is tempting him to attack her by saying, "Oh, I told your son what was gonna happen to him," and you're just like, "Oh, you bitch, bitch." But yeah, the scene that did you have anything else to add with the Salvador Sand scene? Other than, I would watch an entire separate show or read like a separate comic that was just over that pirate guy and his wacky pirate adventures.
I love that guy.
Yeah. All right. From there, we go to Robb and Roose and Lady Cat as they're going to Harrenhal.
Yes.
And I swear to God, can you imagine how bad Harrenhal smells at any given moment? And at any point in the show, it is never not festering corpses thrown all over the fucking city.
I know. I actually had that same thought when I was watching it with my wife. Like they said 200 Northmen, I think.
It is insane. Like the death toll.
I feel like the fact that they specified Northmen meant it's not just Northmen there. Yeah, only 200 of them were Northmen, is the way I kind of take that.
Yeah, they're just fucking crazy at that place. Now, I had actually forgotten this is where they introduced the Necromaster, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
And when he
laugh every time I hear that.
When he popped up, I was like, I had no memory of him being established at that point.
Honestly, he looks so different right now, being all battle worn and stuff, that I don't even think I recognized him my first time through.
I can't remember. How does he get from here to King's? Does he end up being like a crony with Roose, and then he ends up kind of being like relayed back? I cannot remember how.
I don't remember.
I don't remember for the life of me how he gets from point A to point B later on.
I just know that when Diablo finally makes the Necromancer available,
you're gonna call it Necromaster.
It's gonna be Necromaster.
You're welcome. Copyright Jeff. Now, the only other thing I can add is Robb's first thing he does is tell his guys, go find an appropriate cell for Cat.
Yeah.
Which is, it's one of those things. It's fucked up that he has to do that, but you can't blame the dude for what she did.
He's not wrong.
No, especially after how much Cat got up on her high horse to everyone around them. For her to go and do that, she deserved to be locked away at all those places.
And it's like, on the one end, you're like, it's his mother, but you have to remember politically also, he's the king of the North who has no kingdom. Winterfell is gone.
And honestly,
it just basically everyone's loyalty to him is the only thing holding it together. So if he pisses them off, his bannermen right away.
And in a way, he's doing her a favor because she's safe if she's locked away, on guard, as opposed to being kind of out and about, especially with the Karstarks that were really pissed off at her because
I believe so.
It was his son that Jaime killed before he left.
I still stand by what I said, though. I do not want to be one of the poor bastards that have to guard her.
Oh, I agree.
I feel like that's a rock in a hard place.
And that's a job we would get.
Yep.
Yep. Let's see. They go from there to the Tywin and Tyrion scene, which is, as much as I love Tywin as a character, this scene's hard to watch because
this scene, I have a love-hate relationship with this scene because this scene is so good because it's so terrible. Like
it is straight up hard. It's devastating to watch. because
you just feel bad for Tyrion.
Because it's one of those things. Because I think it's okay. Just to establish the scene. This is when Tyrion goes to see Tywin, and his first thing is like, I couldn't help but notice you never came to see me after my glorious moment in combat of saving the fucking city. You never even came to check up on me. And the way that the conversation progresses, I think this is the moment that Tyrion finally 100% realizes there is nothing I can do to ever make my family accept me other than Jaime.
Yeah.
Because
Tywin even goes as far as to blame him for his mother's death.
Oh, him and Cersei at multiple instances bring that up against him.
But the way he says it here made it sound like Tyrion maliciously did it. Like it made him like talking about how like he's killed her before or whatever. But this made it sound like that was his whole purpose in being born was to kill her. The way he says it.
Because it just goes to show that like Tywin doesn't see his son, he just sees the thing that killed his wife. That's all he. Because in this moment,
Jersey girl,
Tyrion could not have been more noble, because he throws it back at his face too. How Joffrey ran and fucking hid. He's like, I led the fucking charge outside the gates. And while your son was hiding in the keep.
And the other thing about this scene too, that's just like the ultimate fuck you, is you and I have talked about all the time how the time period that this is set in, like I get none of this is real, but the time period this is supposed to be set in, the biggest thing you have is your name and your legacy. And Tyrion is not wrong when he's talking about how Castle Rock should be his.
Yeah, because when Jaime gave up his namesake when he joined the army.
Yes, he's not entitled to any titles or land or any of the family legacy. So being the next male in the family, it is supposed to go to him. And Tywin says, no, fuck you. Like he basically told him more or less by doing that, he's not his son, he's not a Lannister, all that, by denying him what should be his birthright.
Yeah, the acting in the scene too is phenomenal. Like the hurt on Peter Dinklage's face that whole time is just,
and
it's tough.
One thing I thought was interesting that I thought really added to the scene when Tywin says, "Oh, one more thing," and he stops, and he doesn't even let Tywin get the whole sentence out. He just says, "The next time I find a whore," and at that point, he just starts marching out again, and Tywin keeps talking as he's walking away. But for that Kevin Smith says all the time, acting is just a series of choices. I thought that was a very good one that Peter Dinklage made, was walking out of the room while he's still talking to him, like storming out like that. I thought that something about that one action really adds to that scene.
His body language going about it too is just,
yeah.
Dinklage, like, he's gotten a lot of accolades for the show and praise, but it's almost like never enough. He's just so good in the show.
And oh my God, Dance, dude, watching him, like, I feel like one of the most difficult things to do, and this just may be a personal thing for me as an actor, is to be in a scene where you're intentionally trying to be racist or intentionally trying to be discriminatory. And when he's talking about how he's watching him waddle about and make all these other like midget references straight to Dinklage's face, like, and the way he does it, I'm like,
you can't hold back.
I would be uncomfortable even just doing a cold reading of the script sitting next to him.
It's interesting you bring that up because in Django Unchained, Leonardo DiCaprio had a really hard time adjusting to his character because he plays the villain of the movie who drops the N-word almost every other word. And he said he had a hard time their first couple of weeks of filming trying to get, because like you have to get to the point like Charles Dance is where you have no hesitation.
Yes.
Because your character wouldn't have any hesitation.
Your character would not hesitate, so you cannot.
And to break your mindset of like you have to chisel down your own sense of political correctness in order to do your job. And then I can only imagine how difficult it would be, especially too, when you think about it at the point where these actors have been working together for several years. They're more than likely friends in real life. You know, you're having to chew out your friend, you know, on camera. It's like great actors. That's why, like, we always talk about how sometimes I'll just go watch a movie for a performance, even if I don't really want to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Like, just the profession of acting is just always so fascinating to me when you think of all the variables that go into it.
The only thing that I could think of that really kind of sums up Charles Dance, you know, accusing the midget in the room of being a midget that he's probably friends with in real life, is just Christopher Lee when he said, just because a movie's bad doesn't mean you have to be bad in it. Like, I don't know what Charles Dance had to say to himself in the mirror to be able to deliver those lines as maliciously as he did.
Yeah. You know what's also one of the lines of dialogue that really cut deep, at least when I was watching it, when you're just like, you went almost hearing it, is when Tyrion, he's given out all of his accomplishments over the last couple of weeks as far as what he did to help save the city. And then Tywin's response to it is, yes, we will bump up your chambers to be appropriate for your name. Not your accomplishments, not your character, but because of your last name that I happen to give to you. And then the line of dialogue when he says, just because I can't prove you're not mine, like he's actively tried to disown him, you're just like, Jesus.
Yeah.
But, man, this is one of those things that's like, Benioff and Weiss, it's like,
Dude,
the subtext has subtext within some of their scenes.
The layers have layers.
The layers.
Yeah, dude, Charles Dance, when you put him in a role like Tywin Lannister, he's a fucking force of nature to be reckoned with. Like, he could not have been casted more perfect. He's arguably the best casted character, I think, on the show. I would agree with that. And Peter Dinklage commands every scene that he's in, and they're in a scene together, and Charles Dance still is commanding the fucking scene. And that's brilliant acting by Dinklage too, because like to your point, Dinklage always feels on screen, his presence is dictated by always feeling like he's like 5 steps ahead of everyone in the room. And when he's on screen with Charles Dance, you can just tell by the look on his face, he always feels like he's out of his element, and he portrays that the whole time. It's really impressive. We could do an entire podcast just on that one scene, man. Yeah. There's so much shit there to break down. A lot to break down. I think we did a decent job. My last note that I did write down, though, I immediately wanted to fast forward to the crossbow scene because of how mean Tywin is. And I know we're not anywhere near there yet, but what a perfect death for that character. It's so undignified. You know? I just thought just really a really quick aside. I just you talking about that point just gave me like a whole new like epiphany on another subtext behind his death. What was the thing that he put him in charge of at Casterly Rock? The sewage. Yes. I never even put that together till just now. Like, that's genius. I don't even know what to say at this point. Like, my brain's kind of broken. We just need to, like, technical difficulties, be back in 5 minutes type of thing. But yeah, I just literally, like, what that episode probably came out like 3 years ago. And we're still, just because of the conversation right now, like, realizing how good the writing is. It's like fucking George R.R. Martin and Benioff and Weiss and all of their writers. I really want to know what Benioff and Weiss are going to move on to, so I know what subscription I need to buy. Yeah. They could just announce like their own CBS All Access. Like, I would buy whatever the Benioff and Weiss project is. All right. BDubs.com. BDubs. All right, the next scene they go to is Sansa and Shay out in the harbor as they're playing a game, kind of basically where they're giving histories to the ships, just because they're bored and have nothing else to pass the time with. It's their conversation they're having when Littlefinger walks up, though, and they start. It's more foreshadowing for what ends up happening between Littlefinger and Sansa about what ends up going down later on.
I really like the how now we did. I think we questioned it when last season when they had that scene where Littlefinger goes in to talk to Tywin, and we questioned whether he did recognize Arya. But he did, because they confirm it in the scene. He tells Sansa straight up that your sister's alive, and it just goes to show you too how clever Littlefinger is about when he needs to play his cards or not. Because at that moment, he could have furthered his stake with the Lannisters
By
and
selling
been like,
her out.
dude, that's a Stark who is, getting you dinner right now.
Right.
But he holds back because it is not the most beneficial time to pull that card, because at that moment, he doesn't need anything from the Lannisters.
Right.
He's already in with them, It's just this crazy mind game of always just you picking the perfect time to better his own name. That's all he's ever looking for. I do like the scene too when they show Rose and Shay talk to each other. I think it's a pretty important scene where she I think it's Roz who says, watch out for her with him. Something like that, where you just,
she says, watch out for her, and she says, I always do. And she says, watch out for her with him. Yeah.
And she's working for the guy.
Yeah. So she knows better than anyone.
Yeah.
Especially with the way he threatened her.
Yeah. Littlefinger is a great character, but such a dark character too.
He's
even
a terrifying individual. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That Littlefinger is actually my favorite kind of villain anytime I watch anime or movies. The guy where basically everything to him is a chess game.
And everyone's pawns. Yeah.
Everyone's pawns, and he tries to stay however many moves ahead. And even when his plans don't work out, he has a contingency for his contingency.
And as long as he's the last piece standing, it doesn't matter if he's the only piece standing.
He never has to get his hands dirty. He goads everyone else into doing his dirty work for him.
Really fascinated to see what the end game is for his character.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already know he said he wants the Iron Throne.
Because his character, it's like he will never be satisfied unless he is basically the king. And then,
well, here's the thing. Here's the great thing about that character. He has said that himself, but the fact that he has said that means it could not be true. That means he could be wanting something different. It's just that's the answer he gave that person.
The thing with him too, he could somehow get the Iron Throne. He would never be satisfied. There's always something else for him to do to benefit his legacy.
Way too ambitious for his own good.
The next scene we go to is Khaleesi. The CGI in the dragons looked pretty good for a TV show in previous seasons. It looks pretty damn good here. You can tell their budget got raised for season 3.
Yeah, you can tell their budget's going up. I like the detail that the dragon cooks the fish before it eats it.
Right.
I don't know why, but that's just everything I watch or play or whatever that dragons are involved. That's a detail I've never seen until this show.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's like one little detail they found to try to set their dragons apart from everybody else's.
This is when Khaleesi and Jorah, I forget what is it? Are they in Marine? Where they go to meet the Unsullied, or do they leave with the Unsullied to Marine? I get mixed up on the location sometimes.
I don't think it's Marine, is it? Because Marine has that giant pyramid with the statue on top.
I'm trying to think. They might have even... I can't remember if they say where she's at. But yeah, she is with Jorah. They're going to check out the Unsullied army because she needs an army. And, she can't exactly come across an army just magically. She needs to use their resources to buy one, basically. I think that's all they really established at that point. Was there anything else I'm forgetting from the first instance in which they show? I don't even remember if they had that. Does she walk in and immediately have the encounter with the slaver guy? Has he already talked to her?
I think when it cuts to it, they're already like walking through with him, if I recall.
With the slaver guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, now that I think about it, it might actually be Slaver's Bay. I want to say that's a name that they use for a play. I don't know if that was the exact name of the place, but are you looking up the locations now?
Yeah, it has season 2 and season 4 listed. It doesn't have season 3 listed for Marine. I'll look up the Unsullied, because that's kind of bugging me.
Their location.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm excited to see more Grey Worm, though.
Yeah, I don't think because they've shown the Unsullied, but I don't think they've specifically shown him yet.
Oh, I love Masandi's translations.
Yeah.
Let's see. Astapor.
Astapor. Okay.
It's Astapor. They only say it like 5,000 goddamn times in this episode. Yeah.
All right. I don't think they have the further scenes with Missandei until the very end, as far as the translations. I could be mistaken though, but
I've always liked that character, Missandei.
Missandei, yeah, she's. I always liked their the dynamics between her and Grey Worm too, that they end up developing more later on. They cut away from that to Davos, as he has landed back in. I always forget exactly where Stannis is, but he goes back to Stannis, and it's basically, he goes
Dragonstone,
something like that. You might be right. He goes in to talk to Stannis, and it's so sad that even though, the way that Melisandre is able to twist the events, basically saying that all happened because I wasn't there because you wouldn't bring me.
Yeah.
Because Davos straight up asked him, it's like, can we please talk alone? And it's him, Davos, and Melisandre, and he says, we are alone. That's really good dialogue to establish the scene and the dynamic of it without having to say more.
I never noticed my first run through season 3 how much this kind of parallels a little bit with Tyrion and Tywin. Because the guy even sacrificed his own son in this battle, and this is the thanks he gets. Like he almost died. And it was in a situation that, it's not like he was commanding the fleet and it was his fault. There was nothing you could do once that ship rolled in. He was the one person that realized what was going on in the battle.
And I don't even think Stannis once even really brings up anything about Davos's kid.
No, and
even if he does, there's no sympathy behind it.
Stannis, I think, looks at him one time. And that's when he gets up from his chair and then goes and looks out the window after she says, you didn't want me there or whatever. He gives him a dirty, sneer, and then goes and he keeps his back to him the entire scene. This is his right-hand man. He's
so brainwashed by Melisandre that Davos is his oldest and best friend.
Yeah.
Dude,
probably the only person a person in his position can call friend.
And he looks at him no longer as his friend, but one of the reasons he lost, at the battle. But yeah, when I alluded to it earlier, what Melisandre says to get Davos to attack her is fucked up, because you're just like,
yeah.
Because you're happy she was there to save Snow, but at the same time you're almost just like, God damn it, Davos, you were so close. You were so close.
So close, yeah.
Yeah, he makes the attempt at her life, and then Stannis just like, dungeons. Okay, thanks, bye, bro. The dude is so loyal. Stannis cut off his fucking fingers. The dude almost dies. Could have sailed up into the sunset, and
lost his son.
Lost after losing his kid. He could have just, never showed his face again. Comes all the way back to try and save him by getting rid of Melisandre, and it's like, nope, dungeons.
He, to me, Brienne is probably the closest person at this point to being as honor bound as Ned Stark, But Davos, as honor bound as he is, he's also the type that is like, yeah, honor or life. Like, so I like that. But I was just thinking, we're to the point where they're going to start introducing Stannis' daughter, right?
It's the season, yeah, because she goes and talks to him while he's in the dungeons, and that's when they establish fucking Stannis, motherfucker.
I have to revisit this as a parent now.
Yeah, have fun with that. It was because it was already brutal enough, as it was.
It was brutal enough when I didn't like kids. And now I have a daughter of my own.
Oh, Game of Thrones, the love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else to add with the Melisandre, Davos, Santa stuff?
Nope.
All right. From there, they go to Joffrey and Marjorie as they're going through kind of like the Flea Bottom, I think is like the name for their kind of town square for all the plebeians, basically.
Yeah, I believe so. I like how this was an unscheduled stop to everyone but Marjorie because she had bags of shit to hand out. Like no one in that little troop knew it was happening except her.
I like how I like the scene when she first goes out of her little carriage type thing, and then she just casually, literally walks through the shit to go to talk to them.
Yeah,
because like you
ruined your dress. I have others.
I have I don't know. It's just one of those things to where Marjorie might be like one of the only people who's actually kind of deserving of her title.
Well, how much of it is a publicity stunt, though? Because she knows how to maintain public image and she knows how to repair public image.
She knows how to do that, but the fact that she even cares about public image, I think, is poignant for their time period because like the rest of them don't really care.
Yeah, the rest of them are like Cersei.
Their end game is getting the title, and they don't really care. You get what I'm saying? Like Marjorie actually cares that she comes across queenly.
Yeah.
Which I think it's kind of cool because a lot of them don't really give a shit, But I like to how Joffrey's reaction when he sees her walking outside of her carriage. He's like peering through the little peephole, and they're just like, "Do you want to go and join her?" It's like, no. At every point, they have a way to make Joffrey even more of a shitbag, and they take every opportunity to do so.
He's more full of shit than that chamber pot that got dumped out of the window was.
Yep, you are absolutely correct. And then the scene after she has kind of like the handouts to all the orphan children, they go back to like one of the most awkward dinners ever, where it's.
I love this scene.
It's Cersei, Joffrey, Iron Fist, and Marjorie.
Loras. Iron Fisted.
Yeah. Like, good God, I don't even know where to begin with that scene.
I love the metalwork in her dress because her armor. Yeah, which honestly, to this scene, I don't think I ever noticed she's been walking around in armor because it's designed into her dress. It's like fashionable armor.
I like the bit of dialogue where Cersei is talking to Marjorie about how like she brings up how they were all almost killed down there and in the previous season, and then Joffrey's just like, my mother's memory is going to shit with her age, like.
And then she brings up how courageous he was on the battlefield or whatever, and I actually have a note written down of when Marjorie looks at Loras, that can you believe this shit look on her face?
Yeah.
She looks at him. And she's just kind of like, is this really fucking happening?
Yeah, because it is just shots fired between mother and daughter and king and, I guess she's still
Queen Regent
because Joffrey and Marjorie haven't been wed yet. But God, that dinner, it's almost, you can't put it into words, just like the awesome awkwardness that plays out.
Oh my God.
And Marjorie, the way that she plays Joffrey like a fiddle is cool too. She knows every little thing to say to just pepper his ego exactly like he wants it, to where he always does everything to her liking.
He doesn't even realize that she's the one in charge of making all the decisions.
Yeah. It's just cool. It's just crazy too. Like I love the dynamics between Marjorie and Cersei
Yeah.
because they're so similar that it's the reason why they hate each other, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the world's not big enough for the two of them.
Yeah. Did you have anything else to add with the Maury Povich scene?
No, that's all I got this time around. That's another one that you could do an entire podcast over that one scene.
Yeah, the family dynamics of them.
All right, Jeff.
We're getting into some of the good shit. All right, the last scenes of the episode are all Khaleesi. So, I cannot wait to get to the culmination point of all the stuff with the slaver because it is one of my all-time favorite moments of the show.
I cannot wait for my wife to get to that so I can experience it again through her.
Because it's just so awesome. But yeah, this is when they are walking through the town, basically. Where I went and looked up his name. Krasny's is the name of the asshole slaver. Just like I love, like you mentioned it earlier, but the differences between what he's saying and what Missandei translates is very comical because he is just saying the worst shit imaginable, and then she always has to pause and it says like, how do I swing this, and then
the genius gambit that Khaleesi plays is pretending to not understand the language.
One of the best subplots ever on the show to me.
She's clearly a Targaryen.
Oh
by
my god!
looking at her.
Because the scene when she reveals that she could understand the whole time, and then the dragon sack the city in the background with that metal as fuck drum beat going on behind it, might be my favorite moment of the entire show. It's so good.
That's when Jeff starts timing up to 4 hours, right?
Yep, you're goddamn right. It's so good. No, the scene that is really, really hard to watch for me is when he slices the dude's nipple off. You're just like, oh
it's
god,
a piece of pepperoni or something.
oh god. It's one of those things where it's like watching people get crushed by the giants and beheaded and shit is easier to watch than that,
Yeah.
Because like the dude just stands there and takes it, no reaction. It's
Yeah.
like, it just makes me cringe watching it.
Men do not need their nipples.
Now, did you have anything to add with the slaver part of it before they transition to the ending?
No, not really. Just how much I cannot wait for that moment.
For the end point of that storyline.
Because that guy, it's bad enough he's a fucking slaver. But to be and at that moment when he says, no, the silver is paid to the baby's owner, not the mother.
Yeah, so was it... Now I forget, is it 8,000 or 9,000?
8,000.
8,000? Yeah, because the first thing Khaleesi says to Jorah when they leave the conversation is 8,000 babies slain, I think.
Yep.
And you're just like, it's one of those things where it's like Game of Thrones is impressive at how it finds new depths to go dark that you wouldn't think.
Yeah.
And then we have the very end with Sir Goddamn Barristan. I freaking love me some Sir Barristan, dude.
When was the last time we saw him before this scene?
It might have been the scene in the throne room when he leaves, basically telling them all to.
But when was that scene though?
All right, it would have to be
because Joffrey was king.
It would have to be pretty early on in season 2, right?
I was trying to remember if it was season 1 or season 2.
Because the reasoning that Joffrey, the bullshit reasoning that Joffrey throws his way is that his father was killed. So it had to be really, really soon in relation to Robert's death. So I would say maybe like the first episode of season 2. Something
so it's been like a whole season.
Been like he's basically gone for like a whole season. He like travels in real time to go over there. But dude, seeing him in this scene, now it's really cool too the way they frame it, where she's kind of like curiously following the girl and smiling, and even Jorah's having a good time while they're following the girl. I want that actor. His name is Ian McElhenney, the Barristan actor. I want to be like a Sith Lord.
I can see that.
Because when he is in that just like metal as fuck dark robe, that was kind of like what I was. And you know what the dude learned a sword fight from being on Game of Thrones. So I would like to see him in Star Wars for something. I think it'd be really cool. But yeah, the when they do the reveal that it's the little girl trying to kill her, the CGI in that lizard thing is freaky.
It's like a scorpion.
It's like a scorpion cobra type thing.
Yeah, scorpion
really,
thing.
But yeah, it was one of my favorite Khaleesi sequences too, because obviously you love her and you love Jorah, but when they added Barristan into their team dynamic, I always really liked that addition too, because it was a cool way to find like a heavier role for a cool character to play where he could be more significant to the overall plot.
Right. And that's going to be at the beginning of the downfall for Jorah too.
He becomes a little bit expendable at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Oh, and the little girl that they do up to look like the warlock is pretty creepy too when they give her like the purple lips and everything.
Yeah.
Little girl kind of crushed that performance because she looked like one to not be fucked with.
And she went from sweet to demon warlock like that.
I don't know what it is. No one else in Hollywood can cast kids. Game of Thrones, outside of Bran, are just like fucking all of them knocked out of the park.
I wonder how many they had to go through to find one for a short role like that.
I think I couldn't tell you the number, but I remember either reading or hearing about the casting process for Arya.
Yeah.
And it was a process for Arya specifically. Like they wanted to be damn sure that they nailed that actor's choice, which was for good reasoning. But I'm curious to go back and look at like what the exact number was as far as how many actresses they ran in for it. But that's all I got for episode 1. Ron, are there any other notes you want to talk about?
No, that was all I had down.
I think the ending of the Khaleesi slaver thing, I want to say that is like episode 3. Because I don't think it's the very next episode. Because I think, don't they kind of play that out for a couple of episodes, I want to say, before they have the reveal? I want to say
they keep it going for a little bit. When I was originally watching it, I was watching it week to week, so it feels like it's forever.
Yeah.
But
I just can't wait. I cannot wait for that sequence. I'm so excited.
Khaleesi is born.
That's one of those where once we get to that episode, I'm just going to watch the scene, rewind, watch the scene, rewind. Maybe like for a couple of hours because it's just so fucking metal.
Yeah, everything about that scene is great. And honestly, no one deserves it more than that bastard.
And that's the moment where like a lot of people, first have the inclination. They're like, wow, Khaleesi is my favorite character.
Yeah.
That's like the first, because when that moment happened, I was like, she might be in one like one move, my favorite character. I still to this day go back and forth on who my favorite character is. It's so hard to. It is like the ultimate Sophie's choice of entertainment. Trying to even to pick like your top 5 is hard with this show.
And one of the greatest things about it is, except for like Ned Stark and maybe Brienne, everyone is gray. Like all the characters pretty much are gray. Some are just straight up black. Hardly any of them are white. They're all terrible people doing terrible things, but you can get behind the reasoning, every one of them. And it's like, no matter how much you hate a character, you can stand behind their reasoning for doing whatever it is they're doing.
Or no matter how much you can hate a character, they'll find a way to kind of get you back on their side, just like they did with Theon, just like they did with Jaime. The first time you see the first episode, Jaime kicks a fucking 8-year-old or 7-year-old kid out of like a 5-story fucking castle. Cut ahead to like 3 or 4 seasons later when he's with Brienne, you're like cheering the guy on. Like that's crazy.
And then even when you hate a character, it's just a testament to the writing and the actor, like Joffrey and
Ramsay.
And Ramsay was my next one I was going to say. Like, you can't help but hate them. And even when you see, like, the actor on the red carpet,
it's like,
just being a person, you're like, fuck you. But
That's just a testament to the writing and the actor, how good it is.
It would have been kind of an interesting like alternate reality because we, the Joffrey actor famously just kind of retired from acting because he wanted to pursue like other careers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What would have happened with his career? Because he would never not be Joffrey.
Yeah.
And it's almost a shame because of how good the guy really was.
It'd be like Aaron Paul trying to escape Jesse.
Yeah, he's trying his damnedest, but it's proving difficult for him.
He's always gonna be Jesse.
Because like in that show, The Path, like he's good in it, but I don't see Aaron Paul. I just see Jesse Pinkman.
Need for Speed. He's got another movie coming up. I don't remember what it is, but I saw him in it in the trailer, and I'm just like, I feel sorry for you, bro, because you're fucked because of how good you are,
and how good the role was that made you a name. It's a shame. Yeah, if you would like to check us out more, please like and subscribe. We have Let's Plays, weekly news vodcasts in addition to our Game of Thrones show. I think, I was looking at the calendar, I think we'll be able to finish season 3 before the new season begins. Because we got 9 more episodes of this season. And that would be cutting into late June, and I think the new season starts like July 16th or something like this. So this is probably going to be our last season up until we start the new episodes, which I'm excited for because it's a lot of fun to, because it's fun revisiting the old stuff, but getting to talk fresh reactions to like what just happened. It's even more so. Social media.
It's gonna be hard getting back on a schedule though, because we did those as soon as the episode ended, or we tried to.
Yeah. We have social media links in the description for Facebook and Twitter, and then please share us out to anyone you might also think would enjoy our content. For this night and all the nights to come, I managed to remember the ending. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron, and this podcast is ended.